Hi friends, with the ALGS Split 2 regular season coming to an end last week, I thought it would be good to do some analysis on the pro games we've had over the last few weeks, and share some tips that these pro gamers use to help you play like a pro in Apex Legends. I'll feature some of your favourite Apex Legends pro teams in this video: TSM, Shiv, NRG and many more. I know the ALGS tournament games have a very specific type of playstyle, but the things you learn from these games that I cover in this video should definitely help you to rank up faster, especially those of you that get hard stuck in higher level ranks. I'm going to focus on particular aspects of how they play, aside from the simple fact that their aiming and strafing are amazing, because these other areas that we analyse in this video should be things that are easy for you to implement in your game. Let me start by saying it's a good idea to have an IGL. This stands for InGame Leader. Having an IGL to call the smart plays for your team can really help you play together as a team and win more. It does require you to put your trust in your friends or teammates. Certainly that's something that's hard to do when you're solo queuing and playing with randoms, but if you're with a pre-made squad, then signaling out an IGL can definitely help. You'll find that teams tend to do better when there's one leader, and the pro teams demonstrate this really well. Pretty much every pro team has an IGL. I think the two most recognizable IGLs, and perhaps the best on the Apex Legends pro scene, are Hal and Sweet from TSM and NRG respectively. I think both are insanely good. Now listen to Sweet being the IGL and guiding his team through how they should handle the last play to win the game.
We're Gibby ulting the far team and I'm bubbling close.
Yes, you're bubbling right below this window. And we're gonna try to make the Horizon team on our roof queue up and push this team. That's gonna give you, okay?
Okay.
Our goal is to just bubble as close as possible and force the other teams to fight. This is gonna be really tough with no heals, but let's just see what we can do.
You hear in this clip how he's guiding the team, but also trying to keep them calm and give them confidence for their final fight. And this is something that's really important as an IGL. It's your job to call the plays, signal out where the best areas are to rotate to, but also give your team confidence and keep them calm. Let's move on to my next point of analysis: where to drop. You see, all teams have their landing spots chosen before they even load into the game, and they stick to those landing spots no matter where the path of the dropship goes. They still go to that landing spot that they decided before the game even started. This is definitely something I recommend for ranked. The main reason and benefit of landing in the same place every time is you get familiar with where all the loot is and also what the layout of that point of interest actually is. And this means if you've got another team landing there trying to contest it with you, you know exactly where to rotate through that point of interest to get the best advantage points for a fight. You also know where the loot is, so you can grab the loot faster than enemy teams. Of course, ranked isn't the ALGS tournaments, so you can have a few options. It doesn't just have to be one place every game, but you should certainly try and focus and repeat where you drop. See TSM here as an example. They chose Fragment as their landing spot, and they landed there for all 3 games on World's Edge in this particular ALGS tournament. Also look at how the team lands and their loot. They land close to each other and assess where the enemy teams are, but they also don't land on top of each other. It's a fine balance. You can see here Reps and Valhurst are in buildings next to each other, while Hal is also looting a building close by. This means they're not stealing each other's loot, but they are close enough to support each other if one of them needs it. Planning is a good point to analyse next. Of course, planning where to land ties in with my first point, but also planning during the game is also important. It shouldn't matter whether you're early game, mid game or end game. Planning is really important and something you'll hear from the pro players a lot. Listen into TSM here.
I'm gonna Ash port underneath the building here, I think, and go there on my ping. Okay? And you're gonna have to bubble, Jordan, most likely.
This is an example of an end zone move, where Hal is talking through the plan with his team of how to get to the zone. You hear him communicate with his team on where he wants to go and how they're going to get there. He even gives instructions to Reps to be ready to bubble as soon as they get through it. This is really important planning that you should do before you make your moves. Although sometimes it's fair to say you can't always plan everything and you do need to be reactive, so keep that in mind. Now positioning and sticking with your team are really important as well, so let's analyse how the pro players approach this. Watch G2 rotating here. They are moving quickly as a team as they rotate and reposition towards the zone, but unfortunately they run into AP. They have to react quickly, and this is where playing together as a team and positioning make a big difference. Look at them move together, and they're able to win this fight because of this. Of course, Gent does hit some really amazing shots as well, but I do see a lot of casual players die because they're not playing with their team. So I know a lot of you can use this G2 example to help you out here. Oh yeah, and in terms of in-fight positioning, this is also demonstrated really well. See how Gent uses Valk's abilities to reposition mid-fight, and use that repositioning to get the downs and secure the win for his team in this fight. Sticking with the theme of positioning, also think about the team's positioning across the game. Don't be afraid to play the zone and play for beacons. Look at this example. This is near the end of Zone 1, which is really early on in this particular game on one of the ALGS match days, and you already see a lot of teams pushing to the zone. Not only the immediate next zone, but the zone after as well. You have teams setting up positions trying to predict where their end zone is going to be, and this can be a really great strategy for you in those harder ranked games. Along with this strategy, beacon scanning is a key part of this. You see a lot of pro teams doing early beacon scans to help guide where they want to reposition through the game. You see 69 Esports here scanning the beacon straight away off drop, and they then use this to guide their position through the game. Again, this is another situation where I see a lot of casual players ignoring beacons. So learn from the pros here and maybe put this into your ranked strategy. Next, let's talk about controlling areas. Most of the pro teams are very good at controlling and securing areas as a team. These areas could be controlling high ground, a building, or even just an open plane of area, anything essentially that can give you and your team an advantage. The idea here is to work as a team to secure this advantageous position. You can see Alliance doing that really well in this clip. They know controlling the high ground above the other teams give them a massive advantage, so they work as a team to gain control of it and then hold it together as a team. And you can see here with their positioning, they're holding different angles to make sure they have the high ground secure. They even end up winning this match because of this strategy. Moving on, let's talk about choosing when to fight. Another mistake I see casual people making is thinking they have to fight everyone. And maybe that's something fun to do in pubs, but when you're in ranked and you're hard stuck, maybe it's something you need to think about. And pros demonstrate this really well. Knowing when to fight and when not to fight is really important. And don't be afraid to leave fights. Look at G2 here. They land some really great shots on the enemy team, but they realize it's not a good push. They would just be chasing the enemy team into the zone, and it could potentially put them at a disadvantage in zone 4, which is pretty lethal on your health if you get caught in it. So instead, they think about the zone and decide to back out and rotate the opposite way. This is really great evidence that you don't always need to take a fight. Think strategically, and sometimes it is okay to back out of a fight if it makes sense. Remember, patience is a virtue, and TSM is another really good example of this. Listen to how literally say patience is important.
I only heard one guy to our right. We swing out here.
We just have to be patient right now, I think.
And let me give you one more example of choosing when to fight and when not to fight. This is a great example of G2, where Valk flies up into the air to secure second place. It's a neat trick I see a lot of pros using in the final ring when there are more than 2 teams. The reason it's useful is because teams in a fight don't tend to look up high, so it's a great way to get a few extra placement points. And even in ranked, this can be beneficial. Getting second in normal ranked games instead of third will get you an extra 25 RP. So you can definitely use this Valk strategy, which I see a lot of pros using quite effectively. The next bit of analysis I want to talk about is armor swapping, and this is a big one. It's a little more common for people to do this now, but do you base your game around it? You'll see pros armor swapping a lot, and even base their positioning on where armor swaps are available. See Skittlecakes here pulling off a quick armor swap. It's an important trick that you should always do when you don't have time to heal. The armor swaps don't just have to be for you, by the way. Look at Sweets dropping his armor for Rocker, so once Rocker's rezzed, he has a quick armor swap. This is a clever thing to do, and something I don't see many casual players doing. Sharing loot is also important. All pros do this. Look at Hal and even Shiv in these examples. Remember, you're a team. Instead of being loot hungry and gobbling all the loots for yourself, think about your teammates. It's better to share the ammo and the heals so you have a fair distribution across the teams. Again, it's not easy to do with randoms, but good players should still do this, whether you can talk to your teammates or not. A simple ping of your own ammo is all it takes to let teammates know you don't have much ammo without mics. Another trick you see pros using is to use their downed teammates' knockdown shields as cover. This is one thing I still don't see many casual players doing, but it's really useful when you don't have other cover available. Watch Skittlecakes here. He does amazingly and even gets some kills just because he's using his teammate's knockdown shield instead of trying to revive too early, which could have encouraged the other team to push and kill them both instead of him getting the extra KP. I've got a couple more tips from my analysis of the pro games, so let me share them with you. Look at Hal here. He peeks, takes some damage, and quickly ducks back to heal. I see too many casual players just continuing to peek after taking lots of damage. So you can learn from the pros here and try not to peek as much and not to peek as long in fights. And by peeking, I mean popping out from cover. One other tip that I got from the pros, which you can see here in this clip, is to carry nades. It sounds simple, but honestly, I see lots of casual players not even considering picking up nades. They'd rather stack ammo and heals, but all pro teams try to carry at least 1 or 2 nades each. That could be arc stars, thermites, or grenades, because they really can come in clutch a lot of the time, as you see there for Hal. Anyway, this is just my bit of analysis on the pro players from the ALGS tournaments that we've recently had. I know there are lots more things we can talk about that pros do, but I don't want this to be a 2-hour video, but I might do a part 2 where we can cover more analysis on how the pros play and find some more tips you can use to win more games in Apex Legends. I know pro callouts are quite important as well in terms of how you communicate with your team, so I will make a separate video on this because I think it will be useful for you. Apart from that though, thank you so much for watching. I hope you did find this video interesting and useful. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you later.